Football advances to the quarterfinals.
Well, track and field starts off their season on a good note.
All this and more coming up on the Penguin Rundown. What's going on, Penguin Nation? I'm Mike Yurstowski alongside my good friend Corey McCrae. Corey, how are we doing today, sir?
We're doing pretty good.
You can't even say your name right.
Mike, the last time you busted out that suit, you were Champ Kine.
I was Champ Kine. He was so grateful to let me borrow the outfit again. So Mike Yurstowski is dressed by Champ Kine this afternoon. So thanks to him.
No getting dressed in the dark this time.
No,
right?
no getting dressed in the dark. I had electricity, so everything's good. It's a little cold outside, but I did get dressed with light.
You need to talk to the landlord. All right.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. But hey, what a great week it's been on the campus of YSU with football beating Jacksonville State, men's basketball won, women's basketball won, and track and field starting their season. Corey, you're going to tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Last Friday, the YSU track and field team hosted 17 teams in their annual icebreaker at the Watts. The men's team coming off an indoor Horizon League championship in 2016 and the women winners of 2 of the last 3 conference titles. Strong start to the season for YSU. 8 Penguins combined to win 9 different events. Amber Els picked up right where she left off earlier this year. The outdoor Horizon League champion won the 60-meter hurdles with a time of 8.59 seconds. Chad Zala continued his dominance as well. The reigning Horizon League Athlete of the Year won the 60-meter hurdles with a time of 7.78 seconds. Junior Ryan Booth won the shot put by 2 meters with a throw of 17.56 meters. Jane Corbett also won the shot put with a throw of 14.02 meters and the weight throw with a toss of 16.56 meters. The team will return to competition on January 20th when they host the YSU College Invitational.
Women's basketball returned home this past Saturday to begin a stretch of 10 out of 11 games they will play in the state of Ohio. On Saturday, the Penguins took on the Red Flash of St. Francis University. We'll take a look at the highlights. As we go inside the Beagley Center here, we're in the first quarter. It's St. Francis. Ace Harrison crosses over on Jenna Hirsch and hits the step-back 3, putting St. Francis up 11-2. But the Penguins would continue to fight in the first quarter, where India Benjamin goes down on the fast break and finds Miley Jones for the 5-foot jump shot. She had a nice night with 13 points and 4 rebounds. India Benjamin again in the first quarter, coast to coast, with a nice steal from Sarah Cash, lays it up and in, with YSU cutting the deficit to 2. Then in the first quarter, it's Hirsch to Myers to Dunn for the and 1, and a beautiful finish from the all-freshman. And in the second quarter, YSU trailing by 2, where Allison Smolinski drives down the left baseline and ties it up at 23. Back and forth we went. We pick it up midway through the third, where Jenna Hirsch, the senior guard, drives in and finishes through the trees to put YSU up. And then in the fourth quarter, late in the third quarter, YSU up by 4, where it's Haley Adams pickpockets India Benjamin. She lays it up. And then Ace Harrison on the fast break again, putting St. Francis up by 2 at this point. Momentum thought it was in their favor, but India Benjamin, 40 seconds left, drives coast to coast again, puts the layup in, puts YSU up by 2. And after 2 Kelly Wright free throws, put YSU up by 4. And there you see again, it's Adams drilling the half-court shot at the buzzer, but too little too late, as YSU would beat St. Francis 69-68. So once again, a big 1-point victory for the Penguins as we see some individual statistics for the game. We're first looking at the Red Flash. They were led by Ace Harrison, who finished with the double-double with 18 points and 10 rebounds. YSU was led by their junior guard, India Benjamin, who put together a phenomenal week last week as she flirted with a triple-double with 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Taking a closer look at India Benjamin, last week she was named the Sports Madness Horizon League Player of the Week. She averaged over 14 points and 6 rebounds in 2 games. Now on Tuesday night, the Lady Gwynns also returned to the Beagley Center to take on the Zips of the University of Akron. As we take a look at that box score, as you see, it was a tough loss for the Penguins as they were outscored by 15 from the free throw line, which helped the Zips edge the Penguins 76-74 in overtime. A very tight contested game throughout, saw the Penguins lead by 2 at halftime as Kelly Wright hit a buzzer beater right before intermission. And in the second half, it was much of the same thing as for the game, where there was a total of 11 tie scores and 8 lead changes. YSU actually outshot shot the Zips from the floor as YSU shot it at 42.4%, while Akron at a 36.7 clip. But in the end, it was Akron's difference at the free throw line that helped them get the victory. Individually, Alex Ricketts led the way for the Zips as she posted a double-double with 20 points and 10 rebounds. And for the Penguins, it was India Benjamin again leading the way as she would foul out in the fourth quarter, but still managed to score a game-high 21 points, while freshman Mary Dunn posted a new career high with 19 points. On taking a close look at the women's upcoming schedule, they now sit at an overall record of 3-5, and they'll make the short trip to Kent State on Saturday to take on the Flashes before returning home next Saturday to host the Big Red of Cornell, then hosting Point Park University on December 21st. Then the girls get a nice break as they're off for Christmas before returning to the court December 31st, where they'll travel to Cleveland State in the Wolstein Center to play the Vikings to begin Horizon League play. Best of luck to Coach Barnes and the entire team.
The men's basketball team's 21-6 second half run lifted the Gwins over Oberlin this past weekend. Let's take a look at the highlights. Penguins coming in 4-4 on the season, looking for that fifth win. And there's a look at junior guard Francisco Santiago, coming into tonight with 20 points or more in 2 straight games. So we'll start you off in the first half. Raheem Williams finding a cutting Matt Donlin. He puts in the layup. Penguins up 6 at that point. Penguins again here. Francisco Santiago's gonna take the handoff, dance around a little bit, and drill the trifecta. Penguins up 7, but here comes Oberlin. Their offense was extremely hot in the first half as Joshua Freakin finds Eli Silverman Lloyd for the 3. He had 11 points, and that matched the number of threes that Oberlin had in the first half. You can see Devin Haygood taking the pass from Braun Hartfield, slamming it there. And here comes Francisco Santiago as he finds a cutting Devin Haygood, a nominee for Play of the Week there. Devin Haygood had 10 points on the night. And how about this play? Jeremiah Ferguson to Matt Donlin to Devin Haygood again, another slam. Should have a slam cam just for Devin Haygood. And how about this post work by Andre Campbell? He spins around, gets a reverse layup to go, but at that point it was too little too late as Santiago and the Donlin connection would meet again. Penguins win by a final score of 87-72. What a stretch it has been for Francisco Santiago. The junior point guard has had 3 straight games of 20 or more points and notched his second double-double of the year. That ties his total from all of last season. Matt Donlin also chipped in 16 points, going 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. YSU out-rebounded the Yeomen 42-33 and absolutely dominated the paint, scoring 48 to Oberlin's 20. Tuesday, the Gwins traveled north to take on Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans. Unfortunately, YSU's 2-game win streak would end in East Lansing. Matt Donlin led the way for the Gwins with 21 points on the night, going 4 of 8 from behind the arc. Impressive performance for Santiago as well. The juniors had his second straight double-double and 3rd one on the season. 13 points and 10 rebounds. That's already 1 more than he had all of last season. Taking a look at the road from here on out, YSU will travel to American on Saturday before returning home Wednesday to host Niagara. Then they'll head down to Columbus to take on the Buckeyes before finally returning home Thursday the 29th to open up Horizon League play versus Milwaukee.
Are you an equestrian enthusiast? Maybe just a lover of YSU sports? Then look no farther than the YSU Equestrian Club. Margot Warnes, is joined by a member of that equestrian club to tell us more.
Thanks, guys. I'm Margot Warnes here with Tony Verrecchia, president of the Equestrian Club. Tony, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. You got a lot of finals coming up next week?
Yes, I do. A bunch of them.
Well, Tony, tell me, what exactly is the Equestrian Club?
The Equestrian Club is basically a competitive team that competes against other college teams around our region on unfamiliar horses in events called Western Horsemanship and Reining. There are different divisions for different experience levels, and we compete all over northern Ohio, sometimes at Findlay. We've competed in Oberlin, in Newberry, Ohio, and all kinds of different places.
That's awesome. So how exactly did you get involved?
I've ridden horses since I was little, and when I came here my first fall semester at one of the organization fairs, somebody was trying to start an equestrian team, and so I got involved immediately. And then when they couldn't continue with the club, then I kind of took over, and we've been going ever since.
So what role do you play as the president of the club?
As the president, I handle a lot of the things to do at the horse shows that we go to. There's always a coaches meeting, and I always have to go and help before the show starts, and I get to sit in on the horse draws and stuff like that. And here at the university, I organize all of our appearances at organization fairs and crash days and things like that. A lot of busy work.
So how many events does the club actually attend annually?
We compete at 5 regular season doubleheaders, and then based on the point system of how the individuals place, there are potentially 3 more in postseason that they have to advance. So they cannot go just because they're on the team. They have to qualify and compete well in order to continue.
Now, can you tell me where exactly do you hold practices?
Our practices are held in Canfield, Ohio, at a barn called Cornerstone Farm. Our coach's name is Amy Watkins, and she has all our practice horses, and we all practice out there. It's all based on our schedules. So some of us are in groups, and some of us can go when we're just alone, and just based on schedule type things.
Well, that's awesome. And for those who are interested, how can they get involved?
Anybody can really get involved by emailing me or my vice president, Jessica Flynn. We are looking to have tryouts, hopefully at the end of spring semester or at the very beginning of fall semester next year in 2017, but the dates for those are still kind of TBA.
Gotcha. Well, I want to say thank you for joining me today. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming in and speaking about your club. And for those of you who are interested, you can check out more at ysu.edu/equestrian club. Mike and Corey, back to you.
Great stuff from Tony Verrecchia and our very own Margot Warrens. Want a great way to have fun with the fam and give back? Then look no further than the Women's Bowling Holiday Bowl. This fundraising tournament aims to help raise money for the team. This event will take place in Struthers on December 10th at 7 p.m. The entry fee is $100 for each 5-person team, and the deadline to register is December 6th. For more information on the event, you can visit ysusports.com under bowling.
YSU traveled down to Jacksonville, Alabama to take on Jacksonville State in the second round of the FCS playoffs. We'll take a look at the game. As we go down to Jacksonville, Alabama, where you see the YSU faithful made the long journey down there, and boy, were they rewarded as we pick it up in the first quarter, where Hunter Wells back the pass and finds Damon Patterson down the right sideline for a beautiful pass and a nice catch for a 70-yard touchdown. He walks into the end zone. This put YSU up 7-0, and the Gwins are celebrating early. And then in the first quarter as well, Hunter Wells hands off to Jody Webb, and what an afternoon this guy had, as he's going to be untouched and walks into the end zone for a 30-yard touchdown, putting YSU up 14-7 in the first quarter. Now, Jacksonville State's got a good quarterback in the name of Eli Jenkins, but he's going to meet our star defensive end, Derek Rivers. Derek Rivers with the sack, his 12th of the season, and Jenkins goes down hard. Now, Nathan Mays comes into the game and hands off to the guy who I just mentioned, Jody Webb, now 50 yards in the end zone, and the same thing as the first time, he's going to be untouched, and he's going to win the track meet into the end zone. You're not going to catch him. Finished with 140 yards and 2 touchdowns on the afternoon. Now, Hunter Wells later in the game finds Damon Patterson. Again, it's the same guys and the same highlights, but boy, were they big as he makes the reception inside the 10. But this time it's Martin Ruiz from 5 yards out, walks into the end zone. This put YSU up 34-24 as they would not look back. Quite the offensive performance from YSU, and then to seal the victory, Eli Jenkins back the pass, and DJ Thomas gets his easiest interception of his career, as we're not quite sure where Jenkins was looking, but he throws it right to Thomas. He picks it up. We seal the victory, and the Penguins celebrate in Jacksonville, Alabama with a 40-24 victory, as you see the players celebrate with the YSU faithful. As we take a look at the box score, quite the day for the YSU offense, but especially junior quarterback Hunter Wells. Wells threw for 290 yards and 1 touchdown and made some big throws all day long. Jody Webb also had a nice afternoon as he finished with 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jacksonville State was led by their starting quarterback Eli Jenkins, who totaled 329 total yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Gwins will now return home to face Wofford University in the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs after winning the bid for home field advantage. Wofford comes into the game with a 10-3 record and a 17-3 win at the Citadel in the second round. I'm now joined by my colleague John Jory to give us some insight on this matchup inside the Ice Castle on Saturday. John, how are we doing, my good friend?
It's my off day. I'm in here talking YSU football. Can't ask much better.
Well, thank you for making some time for us, John. When we first look at this matchup, what initially stands out to you about this Terrier team?
Well, Mike, for starters, it definitely has to be their tenacity and their stonewalling defense. I mean, you look at this team, this is a group that has lost 12 players this season to injury. Just this last week, Joe Newman, the freshman, inserted to the game just after half when Brandon Goodson hurt his ankle. Goodson's actually the starter for Brad Butler, who was the senior that tore his knee in early September. So this is a team that has struggled with injuries all season long, decimating their roster, but they've stayed the course the whole time. Down 3-0 last week to Citadel, they came back to score 17 unanswered. Mike Ayers said this is one of the toughest groups he has mentally, and that this team has bought in and everyone is there for each other. Now, you also have to talk about this Wofford defense. 4th in the country in rushing. That's FBS or FCS. Has only allowed one 100-yard rusher this season. Definitely hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball. Excited to see this Terrier defense this Saturday.
John, both teams have really dealt with injuries all season long. We know with quarterback Ricky Davis and Trent Hosick both going down. But when we look at this Wofford team, who are some players that jump out to you that fans and really in attendance for the game should take a look at?
Well, for starters, Mike, it begins with Lorenzo Long for the Terrier offense. This is a guy that's already over 3,000 career rushing yards, closing in on the all-time Wofford number, really looking to solidify his legacy as a Terrier. This guy just needs, he had 92 yards last week and a touchdown. Really a sensational running back. 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball as well. Lincoln Stewart, the senior defensive back, had 16 tackles and has been a pillar of stability for this team all season long. Also, the freshman Datavius Wilson, who has stepped up in the wake of so many injuries, had 14 tackles last week. A lot of playmakers, a lot of ball hawks on this Wofford defense, but those are 3 guys I think you can expect to see make a lot of plays this Saturday.
Now, John, this might be something you're not aware of, but weather in Northeast Ohio is very up in the air. I mean, it could be 70 and sunny on Saturday, but the forecast as of right now is calling for maybe mid-20s to 30s with the chance of snow. So where is this game going to be won for YSU? Is it going to be in the trenches or is it going to be on the defensive side of the football?
Well, Mike, regardless of the weather, I think you can expect to see a lot of running game. I think both the YSU offense and Wofford like to hang their hat and really favor that run in terms of run-to-pass ratio. But for starters, it's going to be decided up front in the trenches. For YSU and their defensive front 7, you got Derek Rivers, who's already got 12 sacks, Avery Moss with 10 as a roster. They're closing in on the single-season defensive sack total record. They're going up against an offensive line that hasn't given up a sack all year, and regardless of the quarterback, has really just been a pillar of stability for this team that has really had so many people coming in and out. But more importantly, and ultimately what I think will be the deciding matchup of the day, is going to be the stable of YSU running backs against this stone wall Terrier front 7 that has only allowed one 100-yard rusher this season and currently sits at 4th in the entire country in rushing defense. You look at Jody Webb last week, had 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Martin Ruiz closing in on the all-purpose total yard record. He's just 20 yards behind Jermaine Cook to take the all-time spot on the YSU list. 2 guys that like to run the ball. We've seen go through 100 yards a lot. Something's got to give here between this YSU running backs and this Wofford defense.
John, before we let you go real quick, excuse me, YSU got back linebacker Lee Wright for the postseason as he now combines with Armand Delevade. How important is it for this team to get a guy like Lee Wright back on this defensive unit?
Oh, it's huge, Mike. The leading tackler last season, 43 tackles in the last 4 games last season as well. Really a player that they've missed all season long, adds an entire dimension to the team, specifically in the linebacking core. He complements the athletes you have up front in Avery Moss and Derek Rivers, as well as Leroy Alexander in the secondary. This is a guy that does so many things for your football team, still knocking the rust off a little bit. We saw some of those plays where he sort of got stuck in quicksand going against a guy like Eli Jenkins. I think anyone would. But I think he's getting back to midseason form quicker than a lot of people expected, missing the entire season. But nonetheless, you pair him up with Armand Delevade in that linebacking core, the leading tackler for this Penguin defense. I'm really excited to see what this Penguin team does Saturday. I think this YSU group is playing their best ball here in December. And ultimately, I just think too many playmakers on the defensive side for YSU, too much for Wofford to handle. And I think YSU wins a low-scoring affair in the Ice Castle.
Well, John, we certainly hope that's the case, but that's John Chiraldi. We thank you for your time and insight for this game. We'll see you on Saturday.
Thanks, Mike.
Now, the Gwynns and Terriers kick off at 2 p.m. Eastern inside the Ice Castle. You can purchase tickets by visiting the YSU ticket office inside Stanball Stadium or by calling 330-941-YSU. The game will also be available on 570 WKBN, iHeartRadio, and ESPN3 in the Watch ESPN app. We hope to see everyone down at Stanball Stadium this Saturday. Well, Corey, now it's time for the Penguins plays of the week. We have a top 5 once again, and some of these plays are marvelous and really were keys to some of our teams getting victories.
And honestly, I think this top 5 may have been better than your champ Kyne's top 5.
Well, that's definitely debatable, but hey, we'll take a look at the video here as number 5 is going to be going out to Kelly Wright, who on Tuesday night against Akron, she beats the buzzer right before intermission as she drives the baseline and puts it up to put YSU up 31-29. It's just here in slow motion, a nice rip through. She drives past the Akron defender and puts in the nice floater outside the lane to put YSU up 31-29 at the half.
Number 4, YSU football. Do I need to even say anything, Mike? Look at Jody Webb. He's gone. Get that man the ball in space, and he'll make defenders pay right there en route to a 50-yard touchdown. He had 140 yards on the evening. So for
he's very
YSU,
quick.
Really quick. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a defender. I mean, he's leaving you left or right. Either way, you're burned.
He's winning the track meet, especially when his eyes are on the end zone. No one's catching him, as he's been phenomenal all year, and he's really hitting that stride now that we're just going to ride him out here. So good job for Jody Webb. Number 3 is going to go out to my boy Matt Donlin, who gets a beautiful dime from Francisco Santiago, who flushes it home with authority. My man, the Aussie, slamming it home with authority, almost looking like King James-like, but a nice dunk there from Matt Donlin off a beautiful pass from Francisco Santiago that helped the Penguins beat Oberlin last Saturday.
Now, number 2, another slam, but this time from Devin Haygood. Santiago takes it up court. He's going to find Devin Haygood cutting here and puts it in for the slam. 10 points for him. And like Mike, I mean, every time you see him, he's above the rim.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just taking what the defense gives him. But how about that pass from Francisco Santiago again, getting his guy open for an easy slam. But the number 1 play of the week goes back to the football team, which really was the key play that started the whole 40-24 victory, where Hunter Wells finds Damon Patterson down the right sideline. He walks in from 70 yards out. This put YSU up 7-0 on the road in a hostile environment in the rain, nonetheless. And this led the Penguins to never look back and get that 40-24 victory as they advance to the quarterfinals now, as they'll face Wofford on Saturday. Well, that about does it for us here at the Penguin Rundown. For news, highlights, and more, you can check out YSUsports.com and be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat at Penguin Rundown 1. I'm Mike Yurstowski.
And I'm Corey McCray.
Thanks for tuning in, Penguin Nation.